Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the October 21st, 2013 Raleigh Board of Selectmen. Just remind everybody that this meeting is being audio taped and videotaped. First on the agenda is to call the meeting to order. And the second on the agenda is the pledge. Joe Perry, will you lead us in the pledge?
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, just a few items, housekeeping. There'll be no chairman's comments tonight. Citizen query will begin in about 3 minutes. And we'll go from 7:05 until 7:15. If you have any questions, you're at home, you're watching, it's like, gee, I'd like to go down and ask those selectmen a question. Well, you can come right down here and ask us a question between that time. We have 2 appointments tonight. We have a 7:15 appointment, Treasurer Collector Karen Summit. And then at 7:30, we have an appointment with David Santamena. I pronounced that properly? Santamena? He's going to come in and discuss the Girl Scout property. So, without further ado, let's move on and let's go into general business. Okay. First on the agenda, general business, a road opening permit application for National Grid to open Wilson Pond Road at Ellsworth for gas main. Everybody looked over everything seems to be in.
Yeah, I'll give you a motion.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion from Dave, second from Jack. All those in favor?
Aye.
Bob? Thank you. Okay, next general business. Second is a road opening permit application for James Cheney to open 50 Cross Street for water service.
I'll give you a motion.
Everything
Second.
seems to be appropriate. I have a motion. I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. There we go, Bob. Okay, we've just entered 7:05. We have just entered citizen query. For the next 10 minutes, we will be in citizen query. Any questions from the audience?
None.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, next, general business number 3, a letter from Mass DOT, salting at commuter railroad crossings. The Board of Selectmen has received a letter from Mass Department of Transportation reminding the town to refrain from placing salt on the roadway areas in the vicinity of the town's 2 railway crossings. The Raleigh Highway Department complies with this policy and does not salt the railway crossings in the areas in the immediate vicinity of the crossing. And I would imagine that's because of the corrosive effect of the...
corrosive and the signals.
And the signals.
It has a tendency to shot the rails because of the brine solution.
And I'll read this into the record. Dear Chairman Snow, this is from Mass DOT. The application of road salt on the highways, railroad crossings can cause the train approaching warning system to activate without the presence of a train in the area. The reason for this is the combination of road salt and fresh or melting snow creates a conductive solution that causes a short circuit between the rails and the tracks. As a result, the gates slow and the lights flash and the warning bells ring until the problem is corrected. The corrective action usually takes an hour or more and can cause the highway traffic to be backed up. The 2013-14 winter season will soon be upon us. This is a reminder that this request that you instruct your crews and contractors to refrain from salting the area in the immediate vicinity of the tracks in order to minimize the instances of these unwanted activations. Your corporation will help minimize both the automotive and train delays this winter. The following is a list of highway railway crossings in your town and commuter system. And this is Beverly A. Scott, General Manager in Rail and Transit Administrator. And Ron is already in the Highway Department, already knows this, so. But it's good to be updated. Okay, that's the end of general business, and we'll move on to old business. In 375th Anniversary Committee update from Joe Perry. So for that, Joe, I'm going to turn it over to you.
I don't have anything. Now, what we have a letter that is about to be sent out to local area businesses requesting donations to the fund to do certain things for the 375th anniversary celebration. The main part of the celebration will be on September 4th, which is the Thursday, which is the actual date of the anniversary, and then we'll have an opening on Friday, September 5th. Activities planned for Saturday the 6th, and closing at the churches on Sunday the 7th.
Oh, wow.
And we're going to put out a calendar of events, which will include all of the events going on in the different areas of the town, like the Raleigh River Days event. Their Historical Society's going to do something that will be on the calendar. We're going to see if we can work out more on the program of the Memorial Day celebration on the July 4th, which will be on a Friday, I believe.
Yes.
Celebration, so that we can expand the town-wide celebration for the 375th anniversary.
Well, you sent me a lot so far. So.
Oh, excuse me,
Oh,
one
sure.
more. And the Congregational Church was the main part because Ezekiel Rogers was a minister of the church. They will be doing, performing almost the closing ceremonies in December when the church was founded.
And one of the important things about, as Bob has told us about the church, the reason for the Congregational Church is because that was where all the town records were kept.
Exactly.
And that was basically the town hall, correct?
It was town government.
The town government.
Right.
In essence, is what it was really, up until we fought the revolution.
Yep,
And so it was an integral part of the town, so
Yep.
that's the...
very integral, very integral. Yep.
Oh, Joe, thank you for the update, that was great.
You're welcome.
Okay. I had no chairman's comments tonight, but I would like to say one thing at this time. The town common is really taking shape, and it looks really great. I went, a couple of times I've gone by, and they put the lights in, 5 lights, correct, Bob?
Yes.
And they're on the Independence Street side of the common. It really looks nice. It is, when the town common project, again, good pat in the back to everybody on that committee. When this is all done, that common is going to look, it's going to stand out in all these communities, surrounding communities. They're going to talk about the Raleigh Common. Really going to look nice. And again, if you're on the committee and you're at home, thank you so much for your work and your time. Okay, it is about 11 minutes past the hour. We have about 4 more minutes of citizen query. And then we will have appointments to start. So let's, do we have enough time to discuss the plowing contract? Or is that a little bit, going to take some time?
Should be.
We can put that in 4 minutes.
We're pretty well set, right? Just a matter of ratifying it. Been updated.
Okay, the snow plowing contract attaches an updated draft of the snow plowing contract. Highway surveyor Ron Keefe and I worked collaboratively on the updated version. This is forward from Deborah Egan. I believe this version addresses the need for the contractors to possess and maintain adequate insurance coverage. I consulted with the town's insurance carrier, Maya, on the insurance policies and limits. While Maya recommends increased limits, I felt that we need to strike a balance between ability of the local contractors to pay the increased premiums and adequate coverage. One of Maya's recommendations is to require coverage for snow plowing operations. One key change is the redraft of the contract is that all contractors must show proof of automobile liability insurance for snow plowing operations. All automobiles must possess automobile liability insurance under state law. However, once a automobile is used for snow plowing, the liability coverage is not automatically directed towards this activity. Contractors will need to show proof of snow plow operations insurance coverage under the contract. This contract version clearly outlines the town's obligations to ensure that the contractors comply with the workers' compensation insurance requirements. Under state law, contractors who hire employees are required to have workers' compensation insurance. We will be requiring signed affidavits of coverage in accordance with the law. As you know, the Board of Selectmen is required to obtain workers' compensation affidavits with licensed applicants and holders so that the request for these affidavits, tongue-tied tonight, by the town is not uncommon. Also, I changed the format outline of the contract to to mirror the contracts that we use on a regular basis and include language that we have in the town contracts. So Deb, everything is,
Yeah, so I worked with Ron Keefe on this, just try to organize the various sections of the contract into, an outline format that we usually use in our contracts, and describe a list of specifications clearly on what the expectation of the plowers are to have if they want to be a snow plower for the town of Rowley. Some of the conditions of breach of contract, like exceeding speed limits and not having a possession of a valid driver's license. And the compensation section needed to be expounded on a little bit more than what we had before. And like I said, we're trying to strike a balance on the insurance. Well, we know we're a small town, and we want to engage the services of the local companies, as we always have. But on the other hand, we don't want them to be upside down here on their earnings versus the ability to, engage in the service for the town. So I think while Maya would recommend, obviously, as an insurance company, we increase the limits, I think being clear that automobile liability insurance it doesn't necessarily cover liability for snow plowing operations, which, either they show proof of that, that they have that covered for snow plowing, or it should be on the insurance certificates that they're going to be required to submit. Because a motor vehicle is used for driving. Once you undertake a different activity, there's different risks involved.
that'll change the policy.
Yeah, so the auto liability limits are pretty much the same as they were before. It's just the snow plowing. And workers' comp has always been required by law in the town.
Okay, so this is, Is this to be voted on, or this is just a
The
draft?
Board of
This is the
Selectmen
draft.
should vote to adopt this, yes.
Okay.
My only question, if I may, is that 2 weeks ago, Ron expressed concern that he took the increased insurance to the biggest company that does the plowing for the town, and they said that they could not afford it. This does address that.
We
Issue
met
this.
on Thursday, and we met, and Ron was satisfied with these limits. I took out some of the other insurance that, professional liability, that really wasn't necessary, that we had in there, that we use in standard contracts. So we kept it to general liability, auto liability for snow plowing, workers' comp. So he was fine with this. He's already reviewed it.
Very good, thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
No, I looked it over and I was satisfied.
Okay.
I think if the highway surveyor and the administrator are satisfied, then I think we're in good shape. I just would request that once he gets a list of who he's plowing, if we could just get a list so that the board knows who actually is doing the plowing for the town.
Okay.
I'll move that we approve the contract for
Okay.
snow plowing.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I have to close my, go to my appointment folder now. Citizen query ended about 3 minutes ago. Just remind everybody that we're being audio taped and videotaped. I'm dating myself when I say that all the time, videotaped. Everything's digital now. Okay. All right, so our first appointment was with Karen Summit. Karen's our town treasurer, to discuss the disposition of unclaimed property in the appointment of Karen O'Donnell to CPA administrator. Karen Summit would like to discuss adopting Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 200A in the Springtown meeting. If the town adopts this statute, we would have a process for disposing of abandoned and unclaimed funds. Also, the Board of Selectmen needs to appoint Community Preservation Act Administrator, Treasurer Collector. Karen Summit is recommending that the Board of Selectmen appoint Assistant Treasurer Collector Karen O'Donnell as CPA Administrator. The Board of Selectmen has provided a stipend to the Treasurer Collector's Department for the employee who did this additional work, which is additional work beyond the duties of the position. The board needs to vote on the following. And Karen, I think when we do this first, when we go into the general laws, 200A, that you wish to talk about first.
So basically, what this is because we're a municipality, when we have unclaimed funds, which is basically checks that people don't cash, we do not have to turn that over to the state. There is a process that municipalities can go through, and it has to do with notifying people, attempting to notify people, and if these funds are unclaimed, they can go back to the general fund. Most of the unclaimed checks that we have, we try to follow up with people, but the light department charges deposits when new people come to town, and a lot of times these people are renters and they move out of town and there's really no way to track them down. And what this process does is it just streamlines the process for getting those monies back to the general fund, because they tend to be a nuisance from a accounting perspective. We're not talking about a lot of money, and it would just make it easier for the treasurer's office and the accountant's office.
So all we would have to do is on the Springtown meeting is to put this to adopt this law on the books.
Exactly.
200A.
Exactly. Just accept the statute.
Any questions from the board on this? Okay. Just need a motion to adopt this, or
We'll just add it to our list and then.
Or just add it to the list and then we'll just
spring
put it-
town meeting.
Right.
Okay, we'll do that.
And,
Okay, it sounds like a good idea. It, helps you out.
Yeah, and it's a streamline, it gets things off, and, hopefully, we can find these people. It involves posting checks on the website, which we do anyway. And in the general fund, we usually know who the people are, and, we can contact them and say, you have a check, it's not cashed, can you please contact us? If you've lost it, we'll replace it, or if you have it, please cash it. So we really don't have a lot of them in the general fund, it's mostly the deposits.
I know you've hunted down a couple of people to get them
Yes,
the
I have.
checks.
In this room.
In this room. Okay. I wonder who that could have been. Okay. Let's move on to the Assistant Treasurer Collector. Okay, Karen O'Donnell, which should be the CPA Administrator. Of course, that's part of that office over there. That was always. And then when Laura Hamilton was CPA, she moved up to the Water Department and took that with her. And it really should have stayed in the treasurer office. So.
There's if I may, there's a strong connection between the treasurer's office and the accounting department in terms of how much money is in the bank, how much of it has been allocated. And it's really important for us to know what kind of projects the CPC is thinking about investing in. Because as the treasurer, I'm supposed to invest all monies that aren't readily needed. And, I don't want to invest something that we're going to need to spend within the next few months. So it's really important that the treasurer's office be in tune with what the CPC is thinking. And by bringing, Karen into that position, that would bring that back.
Karen, can you just tell us a little bit of your background? Education.
Education. I have a bachelor's degree from Merrimack College and a master's from Endicott College.
Master's in
Business Administration.
Business Administration. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So, first, any questions from the board to Karen O'Donnell?
I think this is, for the reasons that Karen has stated, is that these committees have to work very closely together. These boards have to work very closely together. And as someone who held funds, she held funds for my employer at one point, it is very important that you keep track of what's coming along so that you don't tie up money and then not be able to do what you need to do. So that communication has to be there to make it work.
Yes,
And I
yes.
agree with that 100%.
Absolutely. It's a position that, as you said, was originally tied to the treasurer's office,
Yes.
and would like to see it go back to the treasurer's office. I think Karen O'Donnell would be an excellent person to handle
I think so.
that position.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, I think the accountability is definitely valuable between in the town offices, and I think Karen would be a fine person. My only question is, do we have all the records at this point that the previous CPA administrator had, or do we need to go?
We have requested the CPA chairman get them for us.
Okay.
We do not have them. I had spoken with our PRS group, who is our IS coordinators, and asked them to get the electronic records for us. But I'm waiting for those. I would expect that to happen shortly.
I guess my only concern is nothing related to the new appointee, but I mean,
Yeah.
were those records being kept somewhere, obviously somewhere?
They were at the water department.
The water department. So
Right.
they had, everything should be at the water department anyway.
Right.
Okay.
And I'd asked PRS to, bring a flash drive. We're not on the same network as they are, so they would physically need to be, put on a drive
Downloaded.
and brought over and loaded onto our server. And as far as, I believe there's a file cabinet
Okay.
that's over there with the CPC. And I'll probably will be over there tomorrow, so I'll take a look.
All right, that
And,
was my
you
only
know,
question.
yeah,
Just as
it's
long as we
something
have
that
all the
we're working on.
information and
Yeah.
She's gonna need everything to look at and go over anyway, so.
Exactly, but we really couldn't do anything official
Right,
until she
yeah.
was appointed,
Right.
so.
Just make this official, Karen, you are interested in this position.
Yes.
Okay. We just made that official. We have an affirmative there.
Should we set the stipend at the same time that we make
We-
the appointment? Is that,
Yeah, so I have some recommendations for the board if they choose to go down this course. After you make the appointment, the selectmen should set a stipend amount, keeping in mind that, you know, we don't have an appropriation, you know, has funds in it for this fiscal year. So, you know, you want to confirm if it's going to continue at the $2,000 per fiscal year. And then in this case, which is unusual, we're, you know, about 1/4 plus into the fiscal year, you know, a recommendation could be at $1,500 for this particular appointment
I'll
of
go,
Ms.
I'll go
O'Donnell.
right down the list here. First of all, let's appoint Karen. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion. I have a second. All those in
just
favor?
one question.
Oh, discussion.
Is there an expiration, what are we making the appointment for the rest of the
Well,
fiscal year, or?
I think that this is something probably the board would want to discuss, that it, you know, be subject to a review in May, and then maybe reappointed every year by the board. When we do our annual appointments, every June, we do appointments for the upcoming
Right.
fiscal year. So that
So this will
it's,
be until June
it's
30th,
kept up and,
2014.
correct. That was my, I'm sorry, I didn't
Can you
imply that in
modify
there.
that?
I will add that to the motion.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's-
Second that.
And second. All those in favor? Any
Aye.
discussion?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, set the stipend amount. The stipend has been $2,000 for the fiscal year. The selectmen can prorate the amount and set it for $1,500. So, discussion from the board?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we've run into this situation in in the past where we have stipends and July 1st, the person collects the stipend and then at some point during the year they leave. And we've already paid the stipend, so I think we need to take a look at either dividing it up, dividing it in half and you get two separate payments, or at least, you know, the person, in this case, Karen, she may want to take it at one time, you know, after January or something, but we should have the ability to at least on a semi-annual basis, so that if
Sure.
someone leaves a position in the middle of the year, we will have at least a half year. We can work the appointment process so that whoever does it, you know, would if they were appointed after January 1st, they would get half a year's stipend or whatever. So it's just important, I think, to divide it up enough so that the town is covered, so we're not paying twice for
So you
being cut short.
Semi-annual, annual stipend?
Yeah, I don't want to make it difficult for the employee, obviously, but just it protects the town a little bit so that, you know,
Okay.
I mean, if she chooses to wait and get it all at once, that's fine, but I mean, at least it's a situation that, you know,
Well, I think Dave's got a good point, but like the Board of Selectmen, the assessors, gets amount per year,
Monthly,
and you
yeah.
divide it by 12 into that payment. Would that fit you to divide it per month over the 1,500? I mean, do you know, we want you to stay, we don't want you to leave us.
There are other
in
stipends.
December and leave us, and now she's put a bill in for 15, like Mr. Peterson just said. Why couldn't it work simple, per month?
There are other stipends that are paid semi-annually too. Some of the REMA stipends are
Yes.
semi-annual.
Well, any other discussion on this?
Well, we have to keep in mind the 1,500 is subject to spring town meeting approval, so the board needs to be clear to Ms. O'Donnell that we are not gonna be able to pay her until
Until the spring?
town meeting
Until after
in the
town.
spring, because we missed the warrant for the fall, and so that would be a condition of all this.
Okay.
why don't we, you know, maybe we should make it, we're in a third of the year or a quarter gone by, maybe we should at this point make it quarterly, and for her appointment to be paid upon the authorization of town meeting. So in the future, it'd be paid on a quarterly basis. And then, if she didn't, like, for instance, she wanted to use the money for Christmas, she wouldn't have to take the first quarter, take it all in December, something like that. It'd be when she actually gets paid, she can hold it in arrears. But I mean, a quarterly might be at this point where we do have 3/4 of a year. That would kind of make it easy for the bookkeeping purposes and not be writing a check every month for.
How's the board feel about that quarterly stipend payment?
That'd be all right.
I think as long as Karen would accept that, I would be in favor of it.
That would be fine.
Would be fine? Okay. Can I have a motion for Dave?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we set a stipend of $1,500, but set a stipend of $2,000 for the position, and based on the 3/4 of the year remaining, for this year, it'd be $1,500 to be paid on a quarterly basis.
And can you incorporate that into the Springtown meeting?
Yeah, and to be upon the authorization of the voters at the Springtown meeting.
Okay.
Second.
I have a second?
So, is it,
Yes, discussion?
I was just gonna ask the question. I'm assuming that we have no funds left in this account at this point. Is that
That's right.
correct? Okay.
Okay.
But we are setting the stipend at 2,000 with,
After-
because
Yes.
1/4 of the year's gone, we're paying 1,500 for this fiscal year.
Yeah, for the next physical year, it would be 2,000.
Correct.
Yes.
The selectmen will obviously review that during budget season for fiscal 15.
Yeah, that's basically what the intent of my motion is. If it's worded correctly.
We're working on it.
So the previous person that held this drew the whole amount?
Well, that was the customary practice, going back to the inception of the stipend for the CPA administrator, which I believe was 10 years ago or so. So, it's always in the selectmen's budget, and we paid it in the first pay cycle of the fiscal year, so.
Yeah, we ran into this
I think there's some
in the past
reflection.
with a couple of union positions where people left their positions and we'd already paid the stipends and they left shortly after the fiscal year came into existence. So it's just kind of a protection to say that.
So, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and I think that covers everything. Okay,
Congratulations.
congratulations, Karen, thank you. Thank you for coming aboard on this. And could you give Bill Frank Todd a call tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay. I talked to Bill on Friday and just briefly talked to him about the position and everything else. So I told him that you would give him a ring on Tuesday.
Yeah, we have a meeting Thursday.
And you have
Yes.
a meeting on Thursday. I think that's it.
All right.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Karen,
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, again. Is that the reason they pay us a stipend monthly, is to make sure we come back here? Curious. Okay.
Good evening.
Okay, we have a 7:30 appointment. I apologize for being late, 5 minutes late here. Davis Santamena to discuss the Girl Scout property. We have asked Davis Santamena to attend tonight's meeting to go over the presentation of the town meeting article. Conservation agent Brent Bazelak is also here. What does the board wish to do for the November 4th town meeting? Okay, and I'll just briefly read the article. The town meeting article is as follows. Article 8, to see if the town will vote pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44B, to transfer the appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund unreserved account in the amount of $10,000 to be used by the Board of Selectmen for the costs associated with the evaluation of the future purchase and planning of the land owned by Girl Scouts of Eastern Massachusetts Incorporated, shown as property on Assessors Map 18, Lot 7, and as recommended by the Community Preservation Committee, or take any other action relative thereto. Okay, so with that, David, welcome. So, Can you give us some idea of what your presentation will be?
Well, my intention really was to take my cue from the board and see what direction. And I think it's actually pretty clear from your warrant language, and that I think there's some italicized language in there as well. I mean, I think we'd be very comfortable, stepping up after you make your motion, and maybe just describing the process that we've entered into with the Girl Scouts, their interest in pursuing a conservation outcome for the property, and in Greenbelt's interest in supporting the town as they pursue it. We could speak to some of the attributes of the property as we see them that make it an appropriate conservation acquisition. We wouldn't presume to say what makes it important for the town, but I think we look at it generally from a similar perspective. So I think it would be along those lines.
And there's 3 or 4 different parties interested here of joining in with yourself and looking at this piece of property for other ventures too.
Right. I did have the chance to walk the property with Kate Yeomans and one of her associates on Friday, I believe, with someone from the Girl Scouts, and so we were able to access the buildings and then walk. We walked actually all the way to the back. It's a nice afternoon for a walk, so we walked all the way to the back line of the property where it abuts the town property.
Quite a large piece of property.
It is, yeah. When we walked it, we got back to the baseball field, and you're really only about a third of the way back to the back property line when you get there.
Wow.
So it is a substantial parcel for sure. I think the most and I'm not privy to what the folks in the Y may be thinking or any reactions they may have had having completed their site walk. I know from Boat Camp's perspective, what they could say now is generically, yeah, they think it is a site that would have potential for them as a location for some of their programming. They're a fairly young but expanding organization, so it's hard for them to know exactly what their needs would be, 2 years from now, 3 to 5 years. But they thought it had a lot of potential. I think the reality of those kinds of operations, though, is that they shouldn't be viewed as a source of too much revenue for the town. I mean, they're a nonprofit organization.
Right.
There's not a lot of excess revenue there. Maybe the better way to think of it is as an entity that would take responsibility for some of the management, some of the stewardship, so that responsibility didn't fall entirely to the town. So really, it is a partnership with the town, where what they're providing, in a sense, is almost in-kind services, but services that benefit the town by having access to those programs for residents.
Yeah, I think the word stewardship is the correct phrase to use for that piece of land. That's something I don't think anyone on this board wants to see that developed. That
Right.
would be harmful to the town, I think, and that piece of property is right in the center of it.
No, it's very strategically located for sure.
Yes.
And I think your municipal plans over many years have consistently identified it as one of the highest priorities for protection, and lo and behold, we now have that opportunity. So,
Any questions from the board? Larry?
Yeah, I have a question. Is that, are you proposing to have all 187 acres be the town of Rowley, and then in conjunction with like the Y and Newberry and the other organizations, have them use certain parcels of the land, or are that going to be subdivided or developed by them, or?
We're really right in the beginning of this, Larry. The Larry White Finance Report. I'm sorry, Benjamin.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't identify myself.
But we're still in the infancy. We're still taking baby steps here, moving forward and looking at this land, and this gives us the ability with this money to really, to move forward.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Just to follow up on that, I think what we were interested in looking at with the Y and the other camp and any other potential people is the board needs to make a decision, assuming the town wants to go along with this. Do we buy the entire parcel and then lease out camp operations, or do we buy a portion of it and sell, have with the YMCA, for instance, as an example, or a private party be interested in buying a camp, the camping facilities, the buildings, the number of buildings out there with certain restrictions if they did that, which would then open up us to concentrate on the remaining parcel of property, the vast majority of it, for conservation and maybe recreational activities. And yet the camp would have the availability of that space to use for hiking and camping and so on and so forth. So I think, like the chairman said, we really haven't made any decisions in that regard. We're really wide open as to.
Right, but I think
What-
you have to kind of stress that, you know, you're looking at, we'll say, buying the whole parcel as a town and working with these other organizations, not necessarily in subdividing it. I mean, that's one of the things, but we'll say you don't subdivide it to a subcontractor who builds 50 houses, but you also don't want to subcontract it to a Y that puts up a $4 million hotel.
No, that's why I said there'd be definite restrictions if we did that. But the other issue, I think, with the CPC is that we have to draw money from the recreation portion of CPC funds, from the conservation portion, so that, and this may be a sizable portion, so we're talking about a sizable chunk of money here that we really, once we get, if the town appropriates this money at town meeting, we can begin to look at the assessed values and, you know, those kinds of things, and at that point, we would then look at during the next 6 months at really how we might.
Right, but I mean, stressing the
We're not looking at dividing anything up at this
area,
point.
our conservation use by, you know, the Y, these other places that are more conservation are in concert with the intent of the Girl Scout area being a camp, okay, that it would kind of maintain that.
Well, I think, Larry, my concern is that, and we ran into this a little bit with the Bradstreet property, when we buy buildings, we are not very good at maintaining
No.
buildings. And the idea being that those, I mean, the campsites, the Girl Scouts haven't been using it as a campsite for a couple of 3 years, so.
Right.
What we're looking at is saying is, okay, if we can get an outside entity to come in and maintain the buildings,
Yes.
and use it in conjunction with a Y camp or this camp that's, you know, some other outdoor type camp. And obviously, in conjunction, if we take the rest of the land or use the rest of the land as a conservation and recreation restrictions, that the camp, whoever's using the campground will obviously be able to use it for, you know, conservation and hiking and, you know, all kinds of trails, which are already out there, really.
Yes.
So we want to, you know, that would get a maximum use of the land too, in terms of appreciation of the conservation value of it, without making footprints in terms of development. And obviously, if we do enter into an agreement with one of these groups, we're looking at very carefully putting restrictions on so they cannot turn around and, you know, build a hotel or 10 house lots or,
Right.
you know, something along that line out there. We definitely want to keep it, our intent at this point anyway, I believe, is to look at it as maintaining a camp facility there, which would be valuable for kids. There aren't many camps left around.
No.
And at the same time, getting a hold of this valuable piece of property. And the other biggest thing is making the whole thing somehow economically viable and protect the buildings that are there. As an example, we went over, Mr. Murray and myself and Brent, and
Camp Dennison.
went over to Camp Dennison in Georgetown. They bought Camp Dennison, which is around, correct me if I'm wrong, Brent, 60 acres, give or take. It was a campsite, and they bought it back in the 90s. There's a number of buildings. They have, they do run a day camp out of there, and most of it's in conservation restrictions. But they do have a house that there's a caretaker that lives in the house, and he kind of keeps track of the property and maintains the buildings, and so it's kind of a use like that.
Basically, they have a function hall there also.
Yeah, they have a function hall, so it's a matter of taking a look at this property. If the town, votes to move us forward, is to really basically look at the whole picture. But I think the biggest thing is going to be whether we buy the whole thing or buy part of it, and because the Girl Scouts, if we split up the purchase, then the Girl Scouts would control it at this point, unless we buy the whole thing, and then it gets complicated legally, and who knows what happened. But we're looking at a multi-use, basically conservation-minded, whether it's a camp with maybe a camp, probably a camp is what we probably would hope for, and then conservation and some recreation
And
uses for that property.
As you said, Dave, there's so few places around now for kids to go and, a camp facility.
Yeah.
And as they dwindle and go away, you can talk to many of the young parents, during the summer months, they're always looking for some place for their kids to go, because of, the kids are out of school and they're working.
Right, I'm just suggesting that you stress that you're, trying to cobble together like-minded organizations that are, conservation, camping, of the same mindset as what we're trying to accomplish, that it'll be a little more understandable and palatable to the general audience.
I look back in my youth, and I was a member of the Y from the time I was 7 years old. I learned how to swim there. I went to all the camp facilities in the summertime. I mean, I had a great time growing up, mainly because of the Y. So I understand. It's like Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, or any other organization like that. But it's important for us to think about the children and to, some place in the summertime for them to have activities. I talked to a lot of young parents around town during the 4th of July on the Common, and they don't know about the camp facilities down. They didn't know the YMCA was down there, and just to let them know, so they can, their children, just hang around the house all summer. There's a place to go and take part in games and fun during a lot of creative activities.
Right.
And for the summer months, and that's important for us to to keep the children stimulated. So
Actually, I think the chairman, when he first mentioned it, we're kind of just at the very beginning of this, and I think the key issue is going to be the total cost. I mean, that's what's going to make it or break it for us. If we can partner with people like the boat camp, the YMCA, possible rehab facilities that somebody else is looking at, that would help us to put the whole package together.
Exactly.
My personal thought is that we should control it. I'm not really in favor of selling a parcel to the YMCA or selling a parcel to the boat camp, only because those things have a tendency to change through the years. One of them decides that they no longer want it, such as the Girl Scouts have already done. Where does it go from there? And I would like to have the control and say, okay, we'll find somebody else now to take your portion of it if you no longer want to utilize it, and continue to work that way. And Dave's right about the maintenance. I mean, it's a huge issue, and that's one of the biggest issues that Camp Dennison has, is trying to maintain the property and maintain the buildings. So, I mean, we've got to put that all together and think about that very seriously when we get started here. I think the $10,000 is a good step forward. It'll give us a chance to do a little bit more exploration, find out what's actually there, what the uses could be, things like that. So, I'm just hoping that we can pull it off. I think it would be a great asset for the town. I know Greenbelt is very interested in it because they've got other land in that area, and it all ties together, and it makes great recreation land. I know I've hunted a lot of that land out there in years past, and it's great land. It really is. So.
you really don't know you're in Raleigh, do you? When you're doing
No,
it?
you don't. You really don't. And I can tell you, we used to enter from the Route 1 side, and once you got in there, you could not hear a thing. There was no traffic noise, no nothing out there. It was beautiful. find yourself a nice pine tree, sit down and just kind of enjoy the view.
Yeah.
Just
Really
as a
nice.
final comment from me, Mr. Chairman, that, you know, the Girl Scouts are looking to dispose of this land in the next couple of years. I think this $10,000 is an important commitment by the town,
Mm-hmm.
that we are actively interested
Exactly.
and committed to at least sitting down and discussing the proposal and putting together a proposal for them. And like you mentioned that, you know, it really depends on how the financing is gonna be the difficult task, because it's a valuable piece of property,
Yeah.
and the financing is gonna be difficult. But, you know, once we come up with this initial information and see what, you know, what they are asking for and what I assume at some point if we're serious, we'll be looking to evaluate it in terms of its value for us to be able to purchase. And then we need to sit down and look at, well, how are we gonna, can we afford to finance the whole thing? Can we afford to, and like you said, that's, the key here is the financing. We want the property, and I think the townspeople want the property. It's just how we're gonna pay for it is the key.
And if that property was developed, the impact to the town. We have to think of that.
That's a key issue
Yes.
that we
Right.
really need to think about. And as David said, the open space plan has
Yes.
targeted that piece of land for years. It's something that would be an asset to the community.
And I don't know how much grant money's out there now. You know, in the past, when we bought parcels, we've gotten some support from the state or from various groups, and I don't know if that's available now or not, but it's certainly something that we need to look at.
I can comment on that if you'd like.
Sure.
We did do some outreach to the different state agencies that might potentially participate in the project, and looked at some of the grant funding.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, we didn't get a great response from any of the agencies. Fisheries and Wildlife, we talked to the folks at Conservation and Recreation, and it's not really an ag property, so they weren't really in the mix. You know, for the Fisheries and Wildlife folks, you know, unfortunately, it's not mapped showing the specific resources that they're focused on at the moment. It's a nice big piece of land. It has some nice attributes. It has the Batchelder Brook corridor, but they have a set of fairly specific criteria that they look at. And unfortunately, that particular property, as big as it is and as nice as it is, didn't tick any of those boxes.
Mm.
I'm not writing them off altogether yet, but we didn't get a really enthusiastic response at the outset. I think he's an excellent candidate for a state land grant, which I believe the town has gotten maybe for Brad Street, and I'm not sure what other projects. Hunslow's Hill.
Actually, I think we got it for the Pikel Farm also through the Builders' Rights Program.
Yeah.
With the state, we
Yeah.
got some money there.
So that's a municipal matching reimbursement grant program, again run through the Department of Energy and Environmental Affairs, and at the moment I think it maxes out at $400,000 per project per year. And I think this project would be an excellent candidate for that program. You know, beyond that, there aren't obvious sources of funding that pop out at us. So I think we are at this point viewing it as essentially a municipal project with some state involvement hopefully through a grant, and with some assistance from Greenbelt that would probably largely be technical, not financial, unfortunately. But there are some foundations and other smaller funders we have relationships with that would probably look at this positively. But at the end of the day, I guess I got to say it's really primarily a municipal undertaking.
That's why I think, Mr. Chairman, you know, if we get this town to commit to this $10,000, I think that commits us with the Girl Scouts and gives us the ability to start seriously looking at some of the options. And if we need more money or we have a better idea for the Springtown meeting, we would take the next step at what we might need at that point to move forward if we've decided that it is in fact what we want to do. And by then we'd have some idea of what other groups might want to be involved and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
I mean, this thing for the town meeting is going to be kind of brief, because we're basically just looking at the property, and this is the first step to give us some seed money to do that.
Yeah.
And I think probably the most important part of it is that we're committing to the Girl Scouts, that we are actively looking at this, so that we, I assume, have first dibs on on the purchase, and if it doesn't work out, they'll look elsewhere, but at least we're committed in showing a commitment, and I think it exposes to the taxpayers what we're really looking at here. And encourage people to drive by there and not go, you can't get into the property, but at least see where it is and appreciate what the value of this property is to the town.
And, you know, we're really looking at 3 or more entities to join in, you know, as parties for this piece of property with us as the holder of the property.
Right.
Brent, do you have anything to add to this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to mention, in our tour of Camp Dennison with Steve Brzezinski, who's the conservation agent for the Georgetown Conservation Commission, which has custody and care of the property. It was mentioned as a cautionary note that one should undertake careful planning as well as assessment, because he offered the opinion that there had probably been some direction of resources and time into preservation of some structures which haven't to this day been fully utilized, and therefore there might have been better, more careful application of resources, and possibly if the future planning had been adequate, some buildings that were kept possibly should have been actually taken down until such time as they could actually implement plans that would utilize those facilities. It's nothing that one doesn't think of anyway, but hindsight being the best teacher that it is, I thought that was a telling comment coming from another conservation commission that had gotten involved with a property with facilities on it.
And the Girl Scout property has an Olympic-sized swimming pool.
Yes.
It has how many buildings, structures?
There's half a dozen buildings there, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 substantial lodges.
Mhm.
There's what they call the Vicor building, which is an administrative building, and then there's the caretaker's residence. Those are, as far as I can remember, those are sort of the 4 primary structures. There's a maintenance building,
Mhm.
and then there's a lot of smaller sheds, shelters,
Pump houses,
tent
things like that.
platforms.
Yep.
But it's really those 4 or 5, if you include the maintenance building,
So it is a
primary
facility that
structures.
you can have several entities come in.
Well, that was what I was going to say. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
certainly for the boat camp folks, again, as a small organization, almost inconceivable that they would take on the entire property.
Right.
But one of the lodges, maybe, if the Y did something with the balance of it. I do have to say, with regard to the pool, that the Y folks, the Girl Scouts folks have made it clear that there are issues with the pool that would need to be addressed in terms of code compliance.
If you own a pool, there's always issues
Yeah.
with the pool.
But as
I
you
know
said,
that.
it's an Olympic-sized pool with Olympic-sized issues.
Doesn't matter what the size of the pool is,
Yeah.
there's always issues with the pool.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure it's been abandoned for 3 years, so it's probably got some serious.
Actually, it didn't look all that
Structural,
bad
no?
physically. I'm sure that, I think they mentioned something about a leak, that they had a
Apparently
small
leaks
leak
and-
somewhere.
Yeah.
But this is where the role comes,
Right.
or this is where
This is
the,
where you need to find a
the
partner.
pre-planning, the assessment, the first out figuring out what the
Mhm.
condition of those facilities are, whether they're currently up to code, whether they need, improvements, what their positioning is on the property, especially if the town is going to, even if the town looks at the project with entire ownership in fee by the municipality, that still doesn't mean that we should forget the lesson that we learned over at Brad Street Farm with an apportionment into sections that still can accomplish what the ultimate goal may be as the planning process and we undertake and decide whether there's going to be other active users of the property, and if it makes, as we get into this planning process, if
How
it
many
makes sense.
excuse me, Brian, how many trails are out there?
They seem to be all over.
Are they?
I mean,
You're talking about man-made ones and not deer trails, correct?
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
the deer probably use the man-made ones too.
Yeah.
Plenty of deer trails out there, I can.
Yeah, no,
There's
it's,
probably a couple miles of trails, at least,
Yeah.
I'd have to say. We haven't walked them all, but, I mean, there's the primary one that goes all the way to the back of the property.
That's right.
just the signs going in, there's 2 or 3 different
Yeah.
trails that are designated with signs, so that,
Yeah.
you know, it's quite, it's a great area. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just, it really, really is.
It's a nice piece of property,
Yeah,
it
it's-
really is.
Just a thought, you know, to get year-round use out of this, you know, to, you know, cross-country skiing or something like that for trails. There's not that many facilities around that have cross-country.
No. And most of the woods in Raleigh, due to the agrarian past and harvesting of wood products, usually do have, you know, woods roads going through there, which may actually, you know, just need to be brush cut and bushwhacked to reestablish themselves as being a real trail, as opposed to just where the wildlife decided to, you know.
I'm just trying to think of something to do for the community to get them, you know, out in the wintertime too.
Yeah.
It's a great,
Well, and as
Creston
well
is-
as the fact that there would already be a connection over to Ayers Park,
yes.
Yeah.
via what we commonly have called Smith
I
Lane.
mean, there's a lot of things we could do with this to enhance our community.
The other thing, Mr. Chairman, is if we don't partake in this project, the Girl Scouts are looking obviously to have us a conservation on, and I'm not sure if we don't jump in, what other entities are available to have the funding, that eventually this property will be sold off for houses. And believe me, from walking out through there with the people that we did, there's some potential, a lot of house lots. I don't know the number, but there's a lot of house lot potential out there
Yeah.
for development, so that this is a key. And like I said, I don't think we may be the only ones with some deep enough pockets to
Yeah.
put this project together right
I
now.
know,
And it's
I think
important
that's
that we
right.
move forward to it.
I don't think there's any other entity that's gonna take the lead in pursuing the acquisition of this property.
And that's why we need
Yeah.
We really need
several
to,
entities.
But I really want to say I appreciate the interest that you've shown in this and putting it on the warrant. I do think speaks volumes for the Girl Scouts, and they're I can tell you following this closely. So I think it shows a lot of commitment and good faith on the town's part to pursue it. So there.
And I think this is a project that we can, this will enhance our community. That's how we have to look at it. This can make Raleigh a shining star.
I think, Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure that we need to have you at the town meeting, because we're not far enough along to, you know, if you want to come, you're more than welcome. But I think with Brent, and my suggestion would be that for that discussion, if we have a projector that could at least show that colored map that we have, that let people know, because most people have no idea where we're talking about or how the property runs, so that if we could put that up on the screen and show people what we're talking about and where it is, in between Brent's can make a presentation, and I think the couple of us make I don't think we'll have a hard time selling it at a town meeting.
No, I
To
don't
get
think
this
so.
initial, maybe when it comes time to actually buy it, if we go that route, it may be a little more difficult, but right now, I don't foresee a big problem with the people voting the money to take this initial step.
Brent, you can do that? Get some slides made up of that property pictometry.
Is that something that Merrimack Valley could help us with? As far as the pictometry, things like that?
I'll have to plan and think about that before I can adequately answer that question.
Okay.
It's a possible resource.
We don't have
let's
a
put it
lot
that
of
way.
time.
Well, again,
Yeah, I don't think we need to be too complicated. I think
No, no, I don't
if
think
we
we
get
need
a
a
few
huge
pictures of the
presentation.
building,
That's all.
almost what
Nothing.
some of the stuff you've already got, the
Yeah,
pictures of the
some
buildings
design
and the satellite, the Google
Make sure that
view,
the
or,
assessors and.
and I know the colored picture that we got from, that you people gave us was excellent in terms of delineating where it is, how it fits with the Smith Lane and the property behind the police station, and how that all abuts to go right
And
straight
their
through.
existing land that they
Yes.
control at this
I-
point too.
I think-
So I mean, I think that really, that's the most, to me, that's the most valuable slide, then have a few that show this is the buildings that are up there, so that people get a purview, because the rest of it's just woods. I mean, we don't need a lot of pictures of the woods, obviously, but just to give people a good view, and let them, if they got questions and concerns, we can hopefully address them at that time.
Brent, I think you can, contact Gerard Whitman over the Merrimack Valley Planning Commission. He can get you some pictometry. of that parcel.
I mean, we're certainly happy to help out with that as well. We actually don't have the pictometry. That's, I think, an MVPC proprietary
We
thing.
have it from 2012.
Yeah, but in terms of the other mapping things, we're happy to help out with that.
And things haven't changed that much since then, so. Any of members have anything to say? Questions? I think we covered it pretty much. David, thank you for coming in tonight.
Not at all. Happy to do
Appreciate
it.
Thank you very much.
Thank
And if
you.
you wish to come to the town meeting,
I'll plan to come, but it sounds like your sense is to have you, between Brent and yourselves, cover the presentation, so I'll be there as kind of a, in case anything comes up.
You never know what question somebody's gonna ask.
yeah, that's right.
It's always nice to have a fallback position.
If Mr. Santamen is available, I would, and,
Yeah, I would.
you know,
Yeah, I'm
it'd
happy
be
to.
better to do one on Monday night in November, please come and.
Hopefully, there's not a good Monday
I
night
think it
football
would be
game. You know,
helpful.
so.
I
But-
give
but
up on Monday Night Football.
We need to be able to point the finger at somebody.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that would be great.
All right,
Well,
great.
David, thanks for coming in.
Not at all. Happy to do it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe you could bring the cookies.
How many people do you get at Fresh Time?
Hopefully 100.
All right, good night. Thanks, guys.
Good night, David. Okay. Go back to my.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, does the board have any further need of my services? for
I don't believe we do. Right? We want to keep you. We know how much you do during the day, so if you would like.
Make
Board
sure
have
I'm
anything?
available.
You're certainly welcome to stay, but you don't have to. How's that?
Okay.
We thank you for your input.
Absolutely.
Brent, thank you so much for tonight. Okay, moving on to old business number 3, reviewed special town meeting warrant and assigned motions. Okay. Start right from Article 3? No, that's,
No, we need to assign someone for permission for department heads to speak.
I'll do that. So it'll be
Suspend the
Article
reading.
1. Okay, Article 2, to see if instructions to give officers.
Is that something
That's from the floor.
separate?
Suspend
That's
the
from the
reading,
floor.
yeah.
That's from the
Suspend the
floor.
reading.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first two, who's doing suspend the reading?
I'll do that.
Oh, you want to?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've always
I'm
done
sorry,
that.
Mr. Perry. So, one and
You just
two-
want to cut off Joan, don't you?
Yeah. No, it's Sue Hazen.
Oh, that's right.
These are sort of these open,
Yes, I know that, but what about the article, we introduced the, Mr. Farmer and other department heads
that's
to.
permission for department heads to speak.
Right, where's that?
It's the top of the,
Oh, okay.
Oh, the backside.
some motions that are made right after, right before the warrant starts to be.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So.
So,
Okay,
You're gonna do that one, Bob, right?
I'll do that. Who's gonna do, and Dave, you're gonna do number 2.
I'll do.
Actually, it's
on
number
the second
3.
line, yeah.
he's gonna do the
Yeah.
suspend the reading.
Suspend the reading.
No, we're,
I thought it would be easier
Okay,
to
Okay.
outline it in this fashion, and so you could see.
okay,
We're
so
easily confused.
every time we go through this town meeting, I get confused with this. Okay, so number 1,
Number 1 is basically reports of committees, which comes from the floor.
which come from the floor.
Yeah.
So just jump to 3, Mr.
Number 2
Chairman.
is
Okay.
instructions to town
Where it says
officers, that also
selectmen
comes from
on
the
the
floor.
table,
Comes from the floor.
the table.
Okay, town meeting bylaw, 3.
That's to suspend the town meeting bylaw.
Yeah.
That's not Article number
I
3.
mean, I'll read that if you want, it doesn't matter.
Dave, you do that?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. Okay, Article 4.
I'll do that.
Jack, okay. Article 5,
I'll
transfer.
do that.
Jack, okay.
I'll do 6. Do the 4, 5, and 6.
Okay. Okay, Article 7, transfer fund, ASME union contract for the water department employees.
I'll do that.
Okay, Joe. Article 8, CPC seed for Girl Scout camp. I'll do that.
You're gonna do that?
Yeah. Okay, CPA for conservation restriction for Brad Street open parcel.
I'll do that
That's the
one.
Concom, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Other
That's,
Concom.
yeah, Con.
Okay.
The 10 is the COA, but if I have a backup on that in case,
COA.
Yeah, I'll be the backup on that one.
Okay, Joe. 11, bond housekeeping article.
I can do that one.
Okay. Transition, this is 12, transition to an appointed highway surveyor.
I'll do that one.
Joe,
All
okay.
right.
Okay, transition for appointed tree warden. Joe, you
I'll do
took
that, yep.
no, I drafted you. 14, planning board. That will be taken care of by the planning board, correct?
yes.
Okay, so the next one, 15, planning board also. Okay, 16, water, transferred funds from its salary to expenses.
That's water board.
That'd be water board. Okay. 17, repurpose existing CPC funds.
I'd like to do that one.
Okay, so, all right. That's it.
But someone's got to adjourn.
I'll do the adjourn.
Sure, take the easy one.
I'll take the easy one. Well, I started, might as well finish it, right? Okay. That takes care of that. Okay, moving on, new business. Review local action units, application for Raleigh Village Green Affordable Housing Units. Okay, the Board of Selectmen needs to vote to apply to the State Department of Housing and Community Development for the local action unit certification for 2 of the 25 units at Raleigh Village Green Project on Main Street. The Board of Selectmen needs to vote to authorize Chairman Snow to sign the local action units application. Do I have any discussion from the board?
No, I think that's pretty cut and dry, Mr. Chairman. And we obviously want to have credit for the 2 units, so we need the application, and I would make a motion that we authorize you to sign the local action units application.
I have a
Second
motion.
it.
Second.
I have a second. Bob, second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll sign. All right. New business, discuss water department, water treatment plant entry and testing agreement with Smith Lane Monopole. Okay. Discuss the water department water treatment plant entry and testing agreement with Smith Lane Monopole. Water Superintendent John Rizzo dropped off the attached letter from Weston Sampson and an entry and testing agreement for Smith Lane Monopole on Friday. See attachment. Number 1. Under the terms of existing lease agreement, the town has the right to place antennas and associated equipment on the tower. The letter from the Weston Sampson is concerning because the engineering company hired by the water department is engaging in discussions with Smith Lane Tower Company. I am asking myself the following questions, which I now will pose to the water board chairman. Why is the employee of Weston Sampson informing the water superintendent of the town that an amended lease between the town of Raleigh and SBA for this access is being drafted and will be forwarded once completed. And why is the engineering firm asking the town to sign a document that is unnecessary? The Board of Selectmen did not authorize Weston and Sampson to engage in discussions concerning the lease. The town administrator and the town council have reviewed the letter in the consent agreement, and both are in agreement that under the terms of the existing lease, the town has the right to place the antennas on the tower without amending the lease and without signing the entry and testing agreement. I shall read the memo from the town council into the record, see attachment 2. The water department should have come to the town administrator once SBA said that the lease needed to be amended and that the town needed to sign an entry and testing agreement. Had she known that SBA was requiring these actions, she would have called the cell tower company to explain the town's right to place the antennas on the town under the lease agreement. If the company refused to allow the town to proceed, Debbie would have had the town's attorney send a letter to the cell tower's legal department, attached see section 4B and 12 of the lease, attachment 3. How shall we proceed from here? Should the town administrator contact SBA and inform them of section 4B of the lease? So, let me read I'll read this into the record. This is from Weston Sampson. This is in reference to water treatment plant entry and testing agreement for Smith Lane Monopole. Dear Mr. Reza, the town of Raleigh and its water department has been granted access to Smith Lane Monopole by SBA Communications / SBA Steel LLC to install radio communications equipment on SBA site. An amended lease between the town of Raleigh and SBA for this access is being drafted and will be forwarded once complete. At this time, the radio system testing needs to be completed by the radio subcontractor and their tower climbers. SBA has drafted the entry and testing agreement attached between the town of Raleigh and SBA for temporary access to the site while the lease is drafted. Please have the town review and sign the agreement and attach the requested insurance of certificates as outlined on page 2, item 2, insurance. As you are aware, the contractor for the water department plant has already submitted these insurance certificates to the town. The radio subcontractor, the town climbers will issue the certificate, tower climbers will issue a certificate of insurance to the town of Raleigh before performing their associated work. Please expedite the signing agreement insurance information so that the radio subcontractor and the tower climbers can perform the work before the trees have lost their leaves so the testing can simulate actual site conditions. And that was from Weston Sampson, John Sikora. And then there's the agreement here put together. And town council, this is from Judith Pickett, October 18th, 2013, excuse me. The town has been asked to enter into an entry and testing agreement, an amended lease, which is yet to be provided to the town, which will allow the town to locate radio communications on the SBA monopole located off Smith Lane. The radio communications equipment is necessary for the water department operations. The cover letter from Weston Sampson accompanying the agreement states that the town and the water department have been granted access to Smith Lane monopole by SBA Communications / SBA Steel LLC to install radio communications equipment on the SBA site. That statement is not entirely correct. The town entered into a duly authorized lease with Sprint Spectrum LP, allowing Sprint the use of the portion of the town-owned land for the location of the wireless facility. As part of the conditions of the lease, the town required the leasee, Sprint, to provide space on the wireless facility for municipal communications antennas. Section 4B of the lease reads as follows: the leasee shall provide without charge to the lessor space on the facility to accommodate the communications antenna and associated equipment for use by fire, police, and other departments of the lessor if the departments so wish to use such facility. The town has no need to enter into an entry or testing agreement, much less a lease, in order to locate necessary equipment on the monopole. The town has a right under the lease to locate necessary municipal communications equipment on the monopole. The lessee/SBA would be in default if the lease, if it fails to perform or observe any of the terms, provisions, conditions, and covenants contained with the lease. See Section 12 of the lease. The entry and testing agreement is unacceptable and contains provisions that are not legally permitted within the municipal contracts. An amended lease is not necessary for the town to locate on the monopole. So, with that, Mr. Chairman, what happened?
Oh. As far as I can piece together, Mr. Chairman, I think that we discovered that our communication equipment was not going to be sufficiently located to communicate with all our facilities from water tower. This goes back a couple of 3 months. And it became evident that we needed a more centralized point so that our facilities could communicate with each other to keep up with we have a fancy computer system to control the facilities that needs good communication between all things. So the engineers came up with options, and it seemed like the best option was to go with this communication tower. Okay, so they and our on-site consultant, Mr. Hargraves, pursued that, and they came up with, they wanted to find out exactly what was the lease agreement so they could see if that was possible, so they could get access to that tower, and I think they worked that out. Over and above that, later, moving forward now, this thing cropped up this week, and this, I don't think it was, it was not really a well thought out response to our need. I think we needed some more sophisticated legal advice to look at this agreement. So I think that their intent was to pass this up to the town administrator to find out what we should do at this point. I think that they're recommending that we sign this, but I don't think any of these engineers know what the legal ramifications were of signing that or asking you to sign it. I think they were just trying to get some assistance on the matter.
Why is Mr. Sikora entering, or I don't understand why Mr. Sikora proceeded to look at this site. I understand about the radio site and all that, but shouldn't he have checked back and see, most engineers, I would think, would have looked at the cell site and said, well, probably, whose land is it on? Well, it's on our land.
Yeah.
And how long has Mr. Sikora been going down this path?
I'm not sure. I think that this is going to be a change order.
Yeah, and I'm about to explode.
Yeah.
Are we paying for this? For something that we really don't need? Because, I just read the legal opinion from, I'm not exploding you.
Yeah.
I don't understand Weston and Sampson here going down this path and not contacting the town administrator, not contacting and finding out about this, who owns that tower, what land is placed on, and then going to SBA and getting an agreement that we don't need. And why, are we paying for this? That's what's,
We're paying for, you know, the engineering firm to solve this riddle, so to speak. We need to put this device on a tower so we can communicate, so.
Tim,
Yeah.
don't misunderstand what I'm saying here. My tone is not
Yeah.
with you. My tone is, why are we going down this path, spending this money, when we don't have to spend this money?
The
They're
money-
not, they are not correcting they're adding an expense for no reason whatsoever. There is no problem. And if they had communicated with the administrator or the Board of Selectmen, there wouldn't have been this problem in the first place. This is ridiculous.
Joe, are we talking about the lease cost that's suggested in this letter, or are we talking
No,
about?
no.
The whole bit, they should
We
not have been
own-
involved.
We own a portion of that tower, okay?
Yeah.
The agreement was with SBA in the town of Raleigh that you can place the tower. You can place the tower, but we have a spot on that, if we want a spot on that tower for our police, fire, or any other communications within the town, because of the agreement we have with the leaseor and lessor, okay, leasee, lessor, we have an agreement that we have a place in that tower. So we don't need Weston Sampson running around and going out, and
I think there's a confusion there.
yeah,
I'm having trouble getting my arms around it myself, so.
I think you have to go back to Mr. Sikora and say, what the heck is going on? And how did we go down this path, wasting all this time, and we're not gonna pay for this because we already have an agreement with SBA? And how much money did you spend looking at this?
I'm not sure.
I know, I
Kind
thi-
of go through that, but I don't know if we can just go there and have a climber go up the tower and put a test device up there without getting their permission. And I think it's getting all bogged down with
Well,
contracts.
all you have to do is come to the town
Well,
administrator.
Mr. Chairman, if reading the language of the lease agreement, the Board of Selectmen is the lessor. If the water department would like to install an antenna on the tower, they would make a request to the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen would vote, and as the lessor of the agreement, will send a letter to SBA informing them we're gonna do X, Y, Z on such and such a date,
Yeah.
and under this provision in this section of the lease agreement. And that would have been it.
Yeah.
The water department requested a copy of the lease agreement, we gave it to them. I hadn't heard anything, I gave the contact information I had for SBA to Mr. Hargraves. There was no other further communication. But if it was the police department, the fire department, emergency management, any town department that wanted to place an antenna on that monopole, they would make a request to the selectmen, and the selectmen, acting as the lessor of the lease agreement, would have put in that notification to the cell tower company. That's all.
In the letter I read in, this goes to the water superintendent on the 17th from Mr. Sikora.
Yeah, I think that our superintendent should have, told the board that this is the procedure you gotta take, and that didn't happen.
Well, can you go back and
Yeah.
and ask you, Tim, if you go back and ask Watson Sampson what's going on and why they went down this path, and
Yeah, I think it can be, rectified, but
and find out how much time and energy was spent on this.
yeah, I
Was
think we'll look at
wasted
that.
on
Money.
this.
How
I
much
think we're
money
gonna,
is the key issue?
we'll take a look at that, and, we'll ask them that, this shouldn't have happened.
Oh,
And I think that we need to clear this issue up sooner rather than later.
and again, like Mr. Egan said, town of Raleigh owns a piece of property, and we have an agreement with SBA, and the Board of Selectmen represents that, to place that antenna on that tower. We're the entity to go to.
So, let me, see if I can get this in my mind, really clear. Do you think it might make sense to have a motion tonight to grant, the water department access to that tower? So we can get
No.
that antenna down?
No,
So-
I would suggest that the water board take a vote to put their equipment on the pole. You then send us a copy of that request with some detail as to what exactly what equipment is entailed. Is it just stuff on the pole? Is it stuff that needs to be wired to the ground? You know what I mean, a repeater type thing? I'm not sure what you're looking at putting in, but give enough information so that we then would turn around and say to SBA that we need the space on the pole to put this antenna and this wire and this electrical unit for transmitting or whatever it's gonna be doing.
Yeah.
So that we need to have the paper trail. But you guys need to make a motion at your meeting to forward that to us, and we'll take a look at it, and we'll just back to, yeah, go ahead. And then work out the details with SBA on where and when, so that your installer has access to the equipment, and everybody's happy that nobody's breaking anybody else's equipment or overstepping their bounds. It's relatively simple, it's just a matter of everybody being on board with the process.
I think that our board already voted to put the device up on that pole.
Well, you need to really send us
Right.
that you.
So we haven't
that you-
done that.
That you voted, just give us, you need to vote to give us, or whatever it takes to do it. Give us a letter just outlining what you want to do and what kind of equipment you want to put out there,
Oh.
so that we can, or the administrator can talk to SBA and say, look, this is what, we need this amount of space, and so on and so forth.
Did you vote to go into this agreement?
No.
Okay.
Has the equipment been purchased or gone out to bid, or?
Well, this function right now is to perform a test up there to see if this is gonna be what we need, or refine the design to say that this is what we need, so they can finalize all that and do a change order. So that's gonna be a change order with the plant construction, so. I don't know why it's important to have some kind of an agreement to perform a test. Because all we want to do right now at this
Well,
point is to
yeah,
perform the
you would
test.
need that, you would need that agreement, okay?
Okay.
But we already have the agreement, that's the thing. You don't need the agreement, because we already we own that portion of the pole.
Yeah.
You know, that we can lease, you know, that comes to us.
So at this point, Mr. Chairman, I would say all we need is a letter asking for permission to perform the test. In other words, you may not know yet. It sounds like you don't know if you're gonna use it or not use it, or maybe.
Oh, we're gonna use it, but we just, they wanna,
Well, they wanna test it
They
just to
wanna
make sure,
test
which is.
This is,
maybe-
and am I correct, is this the radio device that goes between the water, 401
SCADA.
Central,
It's
for
a
the
SCADA
SCADA system,
Yes.
to the water treatment plant?
it takes the water treatment plant in, it takes all the well houses,
And all the
It
well
takes
houses,
the,
and monitors,
it takes the tank in
okay.
to effect, and it takes the communications center, which will be at 401 Central Street.
Okay.
That's the SCADA system.
It might even go to the police station too, Bob. I'm not even sure about all the intricacies of the SCADA system.
Okay.
So, at this point, they want to get this test performed now with the leaves on the trees, so that they can better fit the specific electronic device to our needs.
Okay.
So,
Please go back and explain to Mr. Score that he cannot enter into this agreement, okay? He's representing, it's as if he's representing the town. He can't represent the town because
Oh,
he's not a
I
representative,
can
duly
see that.
representative
I
of the
didn't
town.
ask him to put that letter together. He needed to get that task accomplished, to perform the tests, so he could do everything else. Like I say, I'm not sure he understands the lease agreement. And, what happened here is that my department, or, the town's department, didn't talk with the town administrator to make sure this was gonna go smoothly. Obviously, it didn't. Okay, so let's just, get moving on the.
Could
thing,
you go
so-
back to, go back to your board
Do,
and then come back to us and report to us?
Sure.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, would it expedite the process if we vote a motion to authorize SBA to run the test and the test only? Because if you want to get the leaves in the trees, it's pretty critical that you do it quickly.
It's really
If
critical.
we vote to authorize the test to be done, and I'm assuming we're within our bounds, we'll contact SBA. If we vote the motion, we vote, notify
The
SBA
selectmen-
tomorrow that.
Yes, the selectmen need to vote on this, and this is what.
But I mean, if we vote them just to do the test,
Well,
and then they come back with, yeah, okay, the test worked, now we need another motion to say, okay, we're gonna allow you to install.
but I don't want them to do it under this letter.
No, we
No, well,
don't.
the letter requires the signature of the Board of Selectmen, and on the entry, and when I read it, and I saw the language on there that we would never agree to, and Judy backed me up on it, what we're going to do is place a temporary antenna. I don't have any specific information, I'm assuming this, a temporary antenna on the tower. We have a right, LEC shall provide, without charge to the lessor space on the facility to accommodate communication antennas, et cetera, et cetera. So we will notify them. If they come back and say, no, we have an entry agreement that needs to be signed, well, I'll say absolutely not.
No,
We
that's
have
right.
that right, and here's the language, and, I don't know if they're dealing with the field contact person, but, and I'm assuming that it's the name that I have for the site contract, but I mean, we would just pursue that.
And you're not gonna get it done in a hurry either, because they're gonna come back and say, we need the agreement. And then we're gonna have town council deal with their council in order to get it straightened out. If you'd come to us up front, we wouldn't have had that problem.
I'm just, my concern is we wasted a lot of money here.
Well, we gotta lose the leaves too, Bob, so.
Well, I'm gonna lose the leaves, yes, I understand that. But we didn't cause this.
Oh, I know.
And even the
Yeah.
language in what they've proposed is contrary to municipal contracts.
Yeah, I don't understand.
So they don't
how that
understand the
I don't
process.
understand how that happened. I mean, I can see a company giving a lease agreement like this to another company, but given that we know that we're, the owner of that land, and there's no lease required, and I think that they looked at it before. They just didn't have the follow-up with the town administrator to accomplish whatever they wanted to do, because this antenna isn't gonna be really needed or functional until the plan is done, and that's gonna be at least March or April next year, so they just, I think in haste, this thing happened, because they were trying to get the leaves. That's what they were told, and, I guess I'll just apologize for them.
Well, you
Best
shouldn't
I
have to
can.
apologize. You have to go back to Wesley
Yeah.
Sampson and Mr. Shakora and find out
Yeah.
why he went down this path and how much it cost us.
Well, I wanna see how much it cost us too, so. I wanna make sure that,
But in other words, if we have to, you get us a letter, then we go back, we're talking about be December before we get all this legal work done. And I guess my question is, if this board has the authority under the current lease to authorize the installation of a temporary antenna, we're gonna have to do it anyway. And if they need the leaves, it's to our benefit that they do it with the leaves on. I mean, if we wait until December, SBA doesn't care, and the Weston and Sampson doesn't care. But if next summer the system doesn't work because we tested it in the wintertime, then the townspeople and the water system has an issue. And that's my only reason for saying, if we authorize the test, which we're gonna authorize at some point anyway, why not authorize them to move forward on the test? But before there's any kind of permanent installation or anything else, that all we're doing is saying, we'll do the test, get the results, give us the results, and then authorize the installation of the equipment. I think it's important to get the test done as soon as possible, and it's to the townspeople, the ratepayers benefit, because we want to make sure that the system works, and having some background in radio communications, leaves make a big difference in terms of these radio systems, so it may even be getting too late now, but.
Well, this company, SBA, needs to be talked to with the town administrator and maybe legal counsel to see if this can happen sooner rather than later.
Well, I don't see it. I don't want to be argumentative, but I don't see that's a. In other words, if we authorize, this board, and this is where if this board authorizes it, it's authorized.
Yes.
Yeah,
And then we just notify SBA that whoever their contractor is going to be out next Tuesday to run the test. I think that's the extent of.
exactly what I'm trying to say.
I don't understand myself, you know.
In other words, there's a lot of extraneous legal work has been done that never needed to be done. So let's cut to the chase.
That's loading up on this all.
Whatever happens on investigating it, fine. But right now, if we vote to authorize the test as a lessor on our tower, then you guys can go ahead and notify the person doing the test that, you gotta check with the town administrator tomorrow, she'll give the exact procedure, but within a week, you can have the test up and running instead of waiting if we start going back and forth with papers and meetings and your meetings and our meetings, we'll be another 6
Dave,
months of doing this.
Dave, you're
Maybe
right.
if-
Let's do a conditional motion, okay?
If you guys
Dave-
choose not to follow it, that's fine.
Dave, give me a conditional motion.
I'll make a motion that we authorize the water department to, I don't know, do we need the company's name or?
No, well, they're an agent of the town, if, this company, so it's just the town. It's to
I
authorize
believe.
the water department through its agents.
Its agent to
through
perform
its
a
agency,
test
Keep it general
on
like that.
the
Yeah.
monopole at Smith
Yeah,
Lane.
with no agreements necessary.
Right, no, it's just,
It just, I mean, that's what's gonna happen anyway. We don't have to have an agreement.
this is
Okay.
just for the test.
Strictly just
Strictly
the
for the
test.
test. So I have a motion. Do I have a
I'll
second?
second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Tim, just understand, the only reason we're upset is because of Weston Sampson going out on their own and trying to make this agreement with something that they don't have the right to make an agreement and represent the town. I don't understand why they were going down this path. So I think the water board needs to find out.
But in the meantime, we want to do the test so you can.
Yeah, do the test.
We want an
So you have
effective,
permission to do the
we
test.
need an effective system there, so let's do the test and
You
go
read
from
this
there.
agreement, and what they're doing is they're allowing Weston and Sampson
Yeah.
to do the work, not the town of Rowley. Because it was Weston and Sampson that went to SBA.
Right.
Right.
If you'd come to the town of Rowley, we wouldn't have had, this could have been done
Now,
3 weeks ago.
there's lawyers involved here in this language.
Oh, yeah.
So why,
Mr.
why are we
Chairman,
paying for something that,
so before he leaves, can I get a letter from the water department with exactly what it is, the specifications in these antennas and?
And what was voted by the water board.
Yes.
Well, at
Yeah,
least,
whatever was
yes.
voted on, so that I can
well, at least a letter,
present what
just,
exactly is happening.
yeah, a letter as to what the test is. I mean, we
Yeah, I
don't know
know.
what the final
I
equipment's
have
gonna
no
be,
idea.
probably, but what they need SBA to allow to do their test is enough
That's it.
information so that SBA knows what's being done on that tower. And we, in turn, would know also as far as, we just gave you the motion to let you go ahead and do that, to expedite the process. And now you guys gotta make it happen.
When's your board meet again, Tim?
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow
All right, so you can do it
So
tomorrow
you can
night.
do it
and
tomorrow night.
we should,
Okay.
hopefully within a week or so, because I know I'm raking a lot of leaves right now, so.
Yeah, I know.
Well, you said you already
Trees out
took the
here.
vote, so you would have that from your minutes. I just need if the superintendent can send me a memo with the description of whatever the unit is that's going on, I don't know,
We need enough, she needs enough information to tell SBA they're gonna come
An
out
antenna or
and
what
put this on the
dimension.
pole.
Yeah, exactly,
Just
to
just
have the superintendent be in touch with the town administrator?
in a memo,
memo.
please, so that I have
Memo,
that
so
on
document
file,
ready.
based on what the
How
water
soon
board
can they do it?
approved.
Tim, you think?
The test?
Yeah.
I haven't asked that question yet.
Well, at least we're not
They're
gonna,
probably ready to jump on it right now.
I'm sure they are. In other words, we just wanna make sure we're not holding them up.
Yeah, I think the way that this thing would happen would be, they have to contract with a climber
Mhm.
to bring the device up there and set it where the portion of the tower that we own or whatever.
Right.
And then they perform a test to see if it can hit all 3 of 8 points we have, you know, so.
Okay.
Okay,
All right, Tim.
thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Take it easy.
Okay.
Yep, take care.
Thank you. All right, gentlemen, we have minutes. Everybody read minutes for September the 30th, 2013.
Yes. I have no problem.
No problem? I have a motion to accept the minutes for September 30th.
I'll make that
2000.
motion.
I have a
Second.
motion, I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, minutes for October 7th, 2013. Everybody read them?
Yes.
Yep,
Any comments? I have a motion.
motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
Okay. All right. That takes care of that. Now, announcements. I meant to read this in the beginning of the meeting, but I forgot to, but I will read this. The food pantry will be closed Thursday, October 24th, and Thursday, October 24th, and Tuesday, October 29th. And will reopen on Thursday, October 31st, 2013, from 5:30 to 7 p.m. They're doing some maintenance in the food pantry, and there's some painting going on and everything else. So that's the reason for the pantry will be closed. So again, this coming Thursday and this coming Tuesday, they'll be closed. And to reopen on the 31st, from 5:30 to 7 p.m. The town has the following vacant seats: Conservation Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals, Social, 2 open seats, 2 fence viewers, and a wood lumber bark inspector. Also, the battery recycling box is located here at Town Hall and also in the library. Again, this is a good way of becoming green. Don't take those batteries, throw them in the trash. Take them, put them in a little plastic bag, and drop them off here. Household Hazardous Waste Collection Day. I know a lot of people are waiting for this. September 23rd, 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. I'm sorry, November 23rd. Okay, Raleigh Highway Department facility at 40 Independence Street, and usually it's on a Saturday morning, and there'll be a line. And if you have any of any items you wish to get rid of, old TVs, monitors, air conditioners, anything like that, you want to bring down to.
Does the website have I think the website probably has a
Yes.
list of the materials
We
that
do, and
they're willing
The
to
chairman
accept.
has
And
it as well.
Yeah, here's
What we wanna pay
the
for.
list.
There was a
and
list put
Yeah.
up.
There's the
Yeah.
list
And I
right
think it's on
there.
the
There was
cable
a list.
channel.
Okay.
And like, I know the Council on Aging attached it to their monthly newsletter.
Yes, it's in the town meeting warrant.
Okay.
We have white
That's right
space
too,
to
yes.
fill.
Okay. Special town meeting, November 4th, 2013, at 7:30 p.m. at the Pine Grove School. Halloween trick-or-treat will be held on Thursday, October 31st, 2013, from 5:30 till 7:30 around town. Also, just a driving note, it's fall, and the angle of the sun, just to be mindful, is very low on the horizon this time of year, and will continue to get lower for the next several months. So just make sure your windshields are nice and clean so you can see where you're going. Already I've noticed the glare, especially with the school buses out and the children out in the morning. Just keep those visors down, and you can see and get those windows clean. Other than that, I have nothing else. Anything from the board? I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everyone. We'll see you next week.